Hello, beautiful people. This is Dr. Lisa Med, who's here with the wonderful Lauren Martini. And we've got my son Eric, who's from the other side. We are going to continue. I can't remember if it's part two or part three, the session with the founding fathers of the United States. Now, I'll repeat the backstory. These were a group of late 18th century American revolutionary leaders who united the 13 colonies, oversaw the War of Independence from Great Britain, established the United States of America, and created a framework of government for the new nation. So, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, I can't remember who else. Washington. Did I answer that one? Okay, here we go. What? I think I asked that, but it's not check mark. Okay. Thank you, Eric. I love you. And thank you, founding fathers, for participating in this.
Says, thank you very much, Mama. He does his bow, and I have some gentlemen here. It was fun. I had Abraham Lincoln and George Washington were chatting. Oh, and yes, both the Roosevelts
Oh, okay, good. Perfect.
earlier today. So that was fun.
Cool. Now, were you any of the founding fathers, you guys, aware of extraterrestrials?
So Benjamin Franklin and George Washington stepped forward and they said yes, they were
Hmm.
aware. George Washington is okay, who would like to talk about the Masons. So
Okay.
George Washington, when he started, founding everything, it was really important for him because he had a higher understanding of the larger picture and his role. He's saying he was more perceptive than most. And he created basically the Masons.
Okay.
So to protect the knowledge and to ensure that not one force would ever overtake or disrupt the balance of the earth.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. Did you say that was Benjamin Franklin or George Washington?
That was George Washington.
Oh, okay, okay. Uh, if you so you were aware, some of you at least were aware of extraterrestrials. Did they work with you guys in any capacity?
Okay, you guys, it's really funny. So Eric turned himself into like a very stereotypical cartoon alien with the
Oh yeah. My favorite.
George Washington is saying no, he never worked directly with aliens. He was aware of okay, okay, that's a lot. Okay, so he was aware of ancient knowledge that he acquired that kind of like trailed down from like the time of the Crusades. So like that
Mm.
ancient knowledge, that like hidden knowledge.
Mm.
Um, he was in like a group, acquired that knowledge, had that knowledge, understood about alien technology, but never like interacted.
Okay. Uh,
I'm
did
sorry, can you repeat the question again? Because he like went off on
uh
like a huge tangent.
no, it's okay. Did you work with them in any capacity? No. Aware, but no workies.
Aware, but not yeah, like they
Okay.
knew
Okay.
how to utilize the technology. He understood that there was alien technology here that he didn't understand, but he didn't interact with them. Yes. I
Okay.
want to make sure I get that right.
Did they really believe that slaves were three-fifths of a man? And if so, how did you honestly feel about writing the words that all men are created equal? And of course, women too. Ooh, dope.
Okay, so there's a couple questions in that. The first one, saying that anybody is a fifth of anything.
Three-fifths, yeah.
He's saying obviously that that's not what his like soul or true self
Okay.
resonated with.
Who's talking?
Hmm?
Which one is talking? Washington or Benjamin
George
Franklin?
Washington.
Okay. So you
George
probably
Washington's
have
talking.
most of these questions. You can answer for the others too, I guess.
Well, and Elisa, if you want, George is saying if you want someone else to step forward,
So anybody can step in if they feel like they are best able. to give that knowledge to us. Anybody.
Okay.
So do you really
Um,
feel that slaves were three-fifths of a man? Let's start out with that.
and that was George.
Whoever wants to answer it.
Okay. So George, well, I mean, he stepped forward first, so I'm just gonna let him keep kind of going.
Yeah, sure.
No, he never felt that any living human being is less than anything else. Um, mm, okay. Unfortunately, it was very transactional. It was a way to a way to move things.
Yeah, move things forward. Yeah, it's like a compromise kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it's almost like got it. Okay, so he said I couldn't tackle it all change all at once.
Yeah.
It's too much, right? So some of the things you have to take it on the chin.
Yeah.
And he's saying, and oh well, he said, I will take it on the chin a million times over,
Well,
because it was, part of a bigger plan,
yeah.
right? For everything and how the world is expanding and some disruption with some like energy stuff,
Okay.
I guess, too. He's saying like
Well, how did you guys feel
you
about
gotta like give and
give
to
and
get.
take?
Yeah.
Well, how did you feel, honestly, about the words that men and women, all men are created equal? And women.
Now that I'm out of my body,
Yeah.
right? He's saying that it was what I was trying to encompass then. However, then, even though I uttered the words, if I never uttered the words, those words wouldn't be plastered everywhere. No one would, many people wouldn't see them.
Wow.
Unfortunately, because of the collective's perspective at that moment in time and space, it is perceived as only these people are
Yeah.
created.
Hmm. Okay. Now, in 1806, Thomas Jefferson denounced the international slave trade as a violation of human rights, but didn't he have slaves? And called upon Congress to criminalize it. What would they have done different about stopping the slave trade sooner? And Thomas, you had slaves, so and you father a child with one of them.
I'm sorry, I had a look. Can you
Oh,
repeat that question
yeah.
for me?
So Thomas Jefferson denounced the international slave trade as a violation of human rights and called upon Congress to criminalize it. What would they have done different about stopping the slave trade sooner?
What would they have done different about stopping the slave trade sooner?
I mean, obviously Thomas Jefferson wanted to, but then I'd like to know why he had slaves.
Okay, so I actually asked that question earlier today too.
Oh, okay.
Thomas Jefferson did come in, and Abraham Lincoln stepped forward to also comment. Um, Abraham Lincoln is saying the time in which the slaves were freed was too much time had passed. It should have happened sooner, right? That's just kind of like how things like played out,
Okay.
however, right? He said that's why I was so successful, because it needed to stop. There needed to be a shift. And then Thomas Jefferson is coming in, and he is saying a lot of us, unbeknownst to most of you, we acquired slaves, and would work with them and find ways to buy their freedom or get them spot. Oh, okay. So they would also like get other rich families to try and like help fund or sponsor the freedom of some of the slaves.
Okay.
So that's why they would acquire so many, and why they did actually have so many in comparison. However, people had caught wind of what they were doing, right? Obviously, because
Yeah.
they're reaching out to very powerful, rich people who they
Yeah.
thought they were aligned with. And then those people who they thought they were sponsoring to free them.
Oh, enslave them.
Mm.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go on. So how can you justify wanting to criminalize the slave trade, Thomas? But you had slaves. Was it because, well, it better me to take care
Wanted
of
to
them?
legitimize what he was doing.
Pardon me?
He said he wanted to legitimize what he was
Oh,
doing.
okay.
So basically, his underground slave freedom trade,
Mhm.
kind of in a way, because I asked him why he used the word trade, and he said because people ended up then trading his slaves that he thought he was going towards freedom,
Yeah.
kind of like boomerang background on him. Um, but it's kind of like his like little pilot program, like,
Okay.
hey, I have all of these people here who you call slaves. They, they have skills. They can, all these things you're
They're human
saying.
beings. They're worthy of dignity and
It was almost like a way for him to collect information and show evidence like you guys are all stupid or wrong.
yeah. Okay. Uh,
So, oh, he's
oh, go
saying
ahead.
he's like, he kind of lived like a double life, he's saying, Thomas Jefferson.
Okay.
Um, this very, well put together guy. And then, he like takes off that like mask and he's like actually kind of almost like a freedom fighter.
Okay. All right. Lincoln devoted his life to helping others. Why did he have to lose his life?
So, well, see, that's all part of it. That was life lessons for Abigail and I, our son, and it had to have an impact and a ripple.
Okay.
So if it had to show how it, okay. So by him getting assassinated and getting shot, it also showed like the bad side, like, look what they're doing. Like
Yeah.
they're even like killing our president now just so you can enslave people.
Right.
So that was why it happened the way it did, and why they chose that contract.
Well, Trump, of course, was nearly assassinated. Is he the reincarnation of any other president who's had an attempt on their life that was successful or unsuccessful or not?
Did you say Donald Trump?
Yeah. Is he a
Oh,
reincarnation of another president who was successfully or unsuccessfully assassinated? Okay. I didn't feel it was. All right. What were
mm.
some unintentional consequences, both good and bad, of how you guys set up our country? Maybe just name one or two things.
Well, it was funny because they like rolled on a big scroll like
Ah, and Eric, you can
of
add anything you want.
unintended consequences. Um, can we get a little bit more specific? So,
Well, name one
uh,
thing that you wish you had not included or did or should
okay.
have.
Oh, okay. So George Washington steps forward and he was saying, remember when we were talking about how I couldn't change everything at once? It's a
Yeah,
beautiful idea, he says, to think of, oh, if I had this big land and an idealistic where everyone could, have true liberty to
yeah.
do as they please that was best for them, what would that look like? And he said, so, we wanted more equality for women, surprisingly
Oh,
enough. That was a
okay.
big one. He said that was an area that, and Abraham Lincoln jumped in with this with the slavery too. Those were like the two that they got the most.
Did you consider freedom of women? I mean, the equality for women at all when you were discussing amongst yourselves? Was that spoken about?
Well, okay, so George Washington said that was more of a masonry conversation
Oh, okay.
than a governmental conversation. The Masons actually wanted to promote more female independence, and he said it was almost like he was like seeing like the early 1900s
Wow.
in his head.
Wow, cool.
Kind of like before, he said before, then it took a hard
Oh, well, whatever. All right, now.
but yeah, so he's saying like so on the Mason level, when he was chatting with them, they were going to try and promote like all of these different things. But he said, as you all know, when you put things into practice, then these are idealistic, theories, philosophies. Now we have to put them into practice and make them actually jive with what's going on at that moment in time when we're perceiving, 2 centuries in front of us.
Yeah.
So,
No Monday morning
it's
quarterbacking,
hard
huh?
to.
Yeah, it is hard. All right, how can we Americans fight a tyrannical, corrupt government that doesn't truly represent the people? I feel like we're autocracy, governed by an
Oh,
autocracy,
real quick,
especially
I'm
when,
sorry. I'm gonna have to, because George was talking to me, and he also said that another big one was he was very eco-friendly,
oh,
and like he how a big one was that America became a very over-consuming country when he was like, let's not do that. That was
yeah,
like
I
kind
like
of
that. I wish we had listened to you. Now I'm going to have Instacart coming here. They were supposed to come after our session, but for some reason they're rushing things, so they got ice cream. So I might have to pause eventually.
that's
How
okay. What was
how
the
can
question?
how can we Americans fight a tyrannical, corrupt government that does not truly represent the people? I truly think we're being ruled by an autocracy, frankly speaking, especially when elections are stolen. And how can we stop corrupt politicians who weaponize the justice system to persecute their opponents? This guy must, or girl must be pro-Trump, clearly. So
So
what?
Eric's gonna take this one. Eric stepped forward.
Go,
Goes,
Mr. Man. Oh, I don't hear you. Are you muted? Oh,
Somehow I
oh,
magically got muted. I
okay,
don't
okay,
know
got
why.
it, got it. I got you. Okay.
Um, so Eric stepped forward for this one, and he's talking about voting. I already forget the question. That's okay. Just keep going. He's talking about voting, going, and he's saying the options are slim. So you need to go and vote in the beginning of the races, like the
Early voting?
preliminary,
Oh, the early voting or the primaries?
the primaries,
Okay,
the primaries.
right.
He's saying that. Oh, and he's encouraging more younger individuals to get into politics.
Yeah,
He's saying there's a heavy turnover in politics now,
yeah,
and people don't stay for good
yeah,
anymore. So being able to monopolize on that, and then you don't have to be a career politician. Then he goes,
yeah,
sorry guys. He
yeah,
said that's really should be a thing of the past. If we think about what would be beneficial for our country is if all of the politicians actually came from and spoke from their actual collective.
yeah.
Um, and not only is it diversified by the space, right, location, but also on that individual skill set, he says.
Okay.
So why wouldn't you want somebody that has very good business acumen and somebody who has good, you know, eco-friendly, he's pointing at George Washington,
Yeah,
minded skill set, all those skill sets that you would actually need to run a country, he says.
yeah, I agree.
And then he says, Mama, like, wouldn't it be great if there was like a medical person who, spoke for that? And then, just instead of it being based on location, he's saying,
No, yeah, that's not gonna ever happen. So what about
that
the
would be nice.
weaponization of our justice system?
Right. And he's saying and nothing's going to change unless more people take advantage of the quick turnover, get into politics,
Okay,
realize like, it's It's not as scary as
All right.
everyone. He's like really trying to encourage more young people to get out there and get into politics because he's saying the younger voices aren't being heard.
Okay. All right, they got Instacards here, so I'm gonna, but let me just ask another question and then we'll stop recording and we'll start part 3 or 4. I can't remember. Do you guys
Okay.
see a civil war in our future? People are so divided right now.
Yes.
Oh God. What time
30,
frame?
40 years. I had to ask. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, good. Um, how much influence did the elites have over our government? I guess they're talking about when you guys.
When I got asked the question back, when you say elites, are you saying like Illuminati? What are you referring to?
I don't know who the, part of the Bilderberg complex and all that stuff. The top bankers and the oil barons and I really don't know.
Can you repeat the question
Rich
one more
people.
time for me?
How much
And then
influence
I'll try it.
did the elites have over our government?
Okay, so I'm asking them, I said, what did the 1% that basically controls the majority of our commerce,
Yeah.
what is their influence over government? And he said they have that is the government. Like,
Yeah. Terrible. All right, I'm going to stop this recording. You guys subscribe, hit the notification bell. Please hit the like button too, because it helps the algorithms. And we will begin again in a moment for the next part. All right, I'm going to take